of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sandy, roll call, please.
Councilmember Stacy Green.
Present.
Councilmember Bob Hall.
Here.
Councilmember Ken Palfini.
Here.
Councilmember Susan Tavalero.
Here.
Mayor Kim Green.
Here. Okay, number 1 on the agenda, canvass of ballots. By motion, adopt Resolution 30, 2022, declaring the results of the November 8, 2022 general election.
I'll motion to adopt Resolution 302022.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any public comment? All right, motion carried. Administer the oath of office to the newly elected council members.
At this time, I would like Councilmember Mazzoni, Councilmember Parham, and Councilmember Palfini to please come before the dais.
Yeah.
Are you staying?
How are you? How's Jan feeling? Is that right? You can't kick it, huh?
Wanting to go away.
Okay, would you all raise your right hand, please?
Wait.
Do you swear?
There's a lot of motion.
There it is.
You're not going out quiet. They're getting closer.
Close it up in there. Close it up.
You're not gonna go up there?
Oh, no.
All right.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, and that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you are about to enter?
I do.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Come on, you're good.
You're doing good.
We're gonna get you guys situated real quick. Get on. Kim and Stacy.
I know, I'm going. Because I'm leading her with all of you men.
Yeah.
I have a feminine side of me that well,
You better get it out right.
you've been neglecting to honor it.
You better get it out right now, because I might be sad.
Don't be. Don't be. Right, sir. Huh?
Yeah.
It's all.
Looking forward to it.
It's a trip. Somebody got to do it.
Tried twice.
It means you wanted it.
I'm good with
You wanted
that.
it for you.
Yep.
So tonight, on behalf of the staff and the rest of the council, we have these, you can hold that there, these kind of tokens of our appreciations for your years of service, presented to Stacy for his 10 years of service and dedication and commitment to the citizens of Weed, and Mayor Green for your 8 years of dedication and service to the citizens of Weed. So, we're going to
All right,
take a quick
everyone
picture.
smile.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, you see the picture?
Let me see Kim.
Oh, here's your boxes. You want to put them, Stacy?
Yes, sir.
What's your box?
Oh, please.
Oh, boy. All righty, I'm not sure.
Did you get your key yet? For the city?
All right.
They're not going to give him. They're not going to give him a key.
It's not a real key.
Okay, at this time, I would like to open the floor for the election of mayor. I will take nominations for the seat for mayor.
I'll nominate Ken Palfini.
Do we have second it?
No, there's no need for a
Okay.
second. Any other nominations?
Good with that one.
Okay, at this time, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Now
And then-
you gotta play Russian.
Now you gotta play, yeah.
Not Russian
Yeah.
roulette, just roulette.
Maybe one more time.
Yeah.
Good seat.
Oh, yeah. You gotta-
Come on, Mr. Mayor.
Iced tea.
blue pin.
That's not ice.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. Oh, well, we don't have.
You have the agenda?
Oh, here.
No, I've got one here. I just was wondering if
Oh.
everybody else did. Thank you for the nomination, guys. I appreciate it.
Back.
I will accept nominations for Mayor Pro Tem at this time.
I make a motion for Sue Taballero.
I'll accept that.
All in favor? Oh, actually, hold on. Any other nominations?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, now we don't have to play any more musical chairs, right?
Yeah.
No? Okay, I'm good here.
Now is the time of the meeting that we're going to open up for non-agenda public comments. Is there anybody that wants to speak on any item that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 5, council member announcements, meeting, reports, and comments. We can start off with Daryl, Councilman Parham,
I have none this time.
Councilman Taballero, Councilperson Taballero.
Yes, I did attend a transportation committee meeting, and I think I've mentioned before that it's a little disarray there, and that is all getting smoothed out and corrected, as was said earlier in our meeting, that we have received our money from them, a couple different ones. And then I also wanted to make a comment that I got my garbage bill today. And it's really not mine, I got my husband's garbage bill today, so I put it in on his desk. But to let everyone know that you'll be getting a bill from the city for last month, and then the bill came today for the new company for this month. Nobody's getting double billed. And yes, the price went up a little bit, but that was a discussion that was 2 or
Last
3
month.
months ago, yeah. But if you call the city, Mary's really trying to help you. And that's all she's gonna tell you that, so. The poor lady was getting torn up today with phone calls. And I think that's it.
Councilperson Bob Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations to you and Sue. I don't really have, but my report is just going to be fairly brief, but I've been on the council for 14 years now. And I got 2 years left, and then we're going over the sunset. I just wanted to do a quick history. When the first time I ran, I went around to my neighborhood and asked, for people to sign my paperwork. And the number one problem, what people tell me, if you can get that crossing done, get the crossing here at the Mercantile done, I'll sign. I said, well, I'll do my best. And we were about 3 years into it, and it couldn't be done. The crossing couldn't be done, and some of you, the people that can remember, it was horrendous going across. The front end lineman's actually, and so we had a meeting, we decided to have a discussion because it was, at that point, it was astronomical. It was going to cost something like, I think it was something like, $800,000. It's going to take another 18 months to get it done so it could be done, agreement with the railroad, and we're 3 years into it, and I went around to all those people that told me about, they wanted that crossing. I said, I'm not going to run again if you're not going to come to the meeting. And we had about 20 people come to the meeting that night, and we talked about, what are we going to do? What are we going to, how can we get this crossing done? Because it couldn't be done. I mean, it's been, people that have been talking about this for 20, 30 years. And through this group, it was mentioned that there was a number on the building up here, an emergency number. It was back in New York. So we put a sign up that called, if you don't like the crossing, call this number. And through that, within 6 months, we had a new crossing that held up. There was no more patching it or anything, but it was done. But it was done through a group. It was done through the group came up with the solution how to do it. Nobody really knew how to do it, but the power of the group. Then around that time, the downtown area, there wasn't a freaking light on Main Street. Not a street light on it. In most of the Cobra heads didn't work. I wanted to share this with you too, is that as we started talking about doing something, the comment was made, well, why are we going to put lights down and more people will just be hanging around the streets? That was a reply. So we got together and decided we're going to put pavers down. We didn't know anything about pavers. And before you know it, well, we had to have streetlights. Well, before that, let me back up. The council went down. We took a walk downtown. And streetlights had been knocked down. There were bare wires hanging out of the ground. That was acceptable. That truly, we were going into this thing of being, that's what was going on. And we didn't have money to do anything, but we didn't have to lay anybody off. That was kind of the council's perception at that time. Well, we ended up doing a $2.5 million job for about $400,000 that Public Works had a grant for safety. So we itched and switched them, and we fought with the unions, with the union, because it wasn't a union job. The unions wanted the job, and also the union of our employees, saying you can't combine them. But we worked it out. We worked it out where we went down there and we put new street lights in. We put new Cobra headlights in. We did it. And one very important thing to understand is about our community. During that time, we had about 120 volunteers at times, different volunteers. 5 of those, other than my kids that were born here, grandkids, 5 were born and raised people in Weed. Everybody else was transits. They came in, they moved in. And my point is that if as our community is growing, and it's not the same. At that time, we came from IP times where everybody had everybody basically had the same job, same incomes. But that was done through volunteer work. People spent years of our lives out there working next to each other because we're volunteering to get it done. And we still haven't revived Main Street, but we have the infrastructure there to do it now. About 2011, we're talking about the library. Well, the library was basically going to close up because they just couldn't afford it. So we had to figure out a way to do that. We started working with the Friends of the Library, working together, and then we came up with, we could have a sales tax, and we could do a senior program. There hadn't been a senior program in Weed. The only program there was the Golden Seniors that would twice a year they went on a trip to Reno. That's what the kind of services we had. But we started expanding, started thinking about more about the community. 2014, the Bulls Fire came in. They were horrible. 153 homes lost, 153 families. We pulled together. We pulled together and rebuilt. And my point here is this is the community working together, and the council working together. The council since 2011, we had a battle going on for our water. The council allowed me to be the rebel to go out and say, and put light to the issue of, after 110 years of using this water, a company was going to take that water from us. And some of us had stood up and said, no, you're not. That's immoral. It's not the thing to do. But this council never once scolded me. And matter of fact, they all felt the same way. They just knew they had to play this political game out, that it was wrong. But we were able to change through years of putting light to this. We were actually put enough light onto it that justice prevailed. Real quick, and I'm going to finish. And right now, the new council here, got 2 years. I have 2 years on this program. My two goals are going to be, number one is to kind of have a electronic community bulletin board to try to, so we're on the same page more with our community. The other thing is that a sales tax. I hope that the council will agree to looking into a sales tax that needs 2/3 vote. That sales tax being just for roads. Just for roads, something that'll be there forever. The sales tax, when we talk about a sales tax, a 0.25% sales tax, 85% of that comes from people that don't live in weed, people passing through. 85%. But to establish, if we can establish, we have the water now, if we can establish a road fund where you can work, that the council, that the city can work with matching funds, it's going to change weed it's going to make weed secure for many, many years to come. The sales tax will not go away, but it has to be 2/3 vote, not 50%. So we need to start talking about this and making sure that people understand about what it's going to take. Because it's something if not, I really believe that we can be looking at gravel roads in another 5-10 years. Because the funding's just not going to come down. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Councilperson Mazzoni.
Wow, that's going to be a hard one to follow up on, but thank you. But anyway, I
Less than 3 sentences. No, it's
it's
just
going to be tough. I just want to say, thank everyone that voted for me, and congratulations to Darrell and Ken also. But I just wanted to say that I lived in weed most of my whole life, and yesterday I went into the library. Felt pretty bad knowing it's been there for all these years, and I just drove right by it. So I just want to say that Catherine, when I went in there, and Katie gave me the tour in that. Again, I'm not trying to sway anyone. This is just my observation. I was impressed with what they offer, what they've done with this museum, and to have 588 members on top of people that drive through there, use the Wi-Fi, and they help with folks that are having trouble reading, doing resumes. So anyway, I just wanted to tell them both thank you very much for that, and you'll be seeing a lot more of me. But anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I'll make mine brief as well. I would like to welcome a new business. I think there's 2 new businesses in town. One is Cedar Lanes is back open, which is a big kudos for everybody. And there's another small retail shop that opened up across the street.
Ashley Surplus.
Ashley Surplus.
Yes.
So that's another business that opened up, so that's good for us. I'd also like to say that I've gone weekly to meetings to the Weed Long-Term Care Recovery Group, which is a group that's going to be forming the long-term recovery group, which is going to give some structure to the survivors and the rebuilding process. That should be formed by, I'm hoping, mid-January at latest. What else do I have? I do want to congratulate Mark and Darrell for being elected to their positions. So it's nice to have new folks on the council. Let's see. And what's that?
They're youngsters.
They're youngsters. I would also like to say that the Longweed Care Team also put together a Thanksgiving dinner that we had at the community center. It was actually, I think we had about 70 to 75 people for Thanksgiving, and we always want more, but it was plenty. Okay. And with that, I will close and we'll open up for the regular agenda. And we'll start off with the consent agenda. Do I have any motions on the consent agenda or any actions on the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve
If-
this first.
Yes, you'll need to
Oh.
read
I didn't-
I would like to read a disclosure before we go on with the consent agenda. Before we move on to taking action on the consent calendar, I'd like to publicly announce that under Government Code 54953.C.3, the City Council is required to orally report a summary of any council action on salaries, salary schedules, or fringe benefits for any local agency executives. Accordingly, before the City Council this evening, as part of Agenda Item 6.B, is a recommendation to approve one-time bonuses of $500 after tax to all full-time city employees, which includes the city manager and all department heads. The bonus is a one-time payment in recognition of the staff's efforts to deal with the mill fire and its aftermath. Do we need to make note that part-time employees also receive a $250 after-tax bonus? Okay. And with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second?
Do we have a vote? How many in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. On to item number 7, which is items removed from the consent agenda. And then we can move on to item number 8. I'm a little rusty, so you're going to have to forgive me on this one. Council business. Item number A, collection services. By C&D Waste has made a request for an additional payment. Do I get a report from?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, before you tonight is an agenda item, and Mr. Clemens is here tonight to answer any questions, but as I stated earlier, we, in the spring of 2022, decided to switch the method of garbage collection from contract to a franchise agreement. The current contractor at the time, which was C&D Waste Removal, had agreed to stay on until we completed the entire RFP process, and the council voted on who they wanted to accept as the new franchise agreement for sanitation services for the city of Weed. And during that time, Mr. Clemens graciously decided to stay on because the franchise agreement took a little bit more time than staff had thought it was going to. So the new contractor wasn't able to start until December the 1st. So before you tonight is a letter from Mr. Clemens, and he's here to answer any questions, essentially outlining some additional costs that he had to endure over the months between July 1 up until December 1, which totaled the amounts of $9,096.60. Recommendation by staff is to approve the funding request pending a signed general release of claims, and that all city keys and properties return, and the C&D equipment is removed from the city property. So that's what you have before you tonight.
Thank you. Comments from any of the council?
No.
Mark? Bob? No?
Just
Any public comment?
Thank you, Paul, for doing that.
Yes.
We'll
Yes.
appreciate that.
I think, Mr. Mayor, just what we kind of discussed it at our meeting before. It sounds as if everything is on board, above board, and we do appreciate what stepping up for us. We were in a real jam, and it sounds like staff has agreed with that what you're requesting is warranted. Thank you.
I'm
you had a protocol, but, so Paul Clemens, owner of C&D, and want to say thank you for considering the matter, but I also, it's been almost 40 years of my family being up here and part of the community and involved. We've seen a lot of the changes like Councilmember Hall mentioned. And so I just want to say thanks to the city, to city staff that's always worked with us, helped us out. We've overcome a lot of things. We've seen a lot of changes. And then, you know, I couldn't have done it without family and without friends and employees that were part of this community as well. So I just want to say thank you to all of you and appreciate it. And I wish you well with your new contractor. I think they'll do a good job. But thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your past. Yeah. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
A second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Let's move on to item number B, administration. By motion, adopt resolution number 32-2022, adopting the City of Weed Code of Ethics and Conduct for elected and appointed officials. Any report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, before you tonight is a Code of Ethics and Conduct for elected officials and appointed officials, a new policy for the City of Weed. Over the past, probably 6 months or so, there's been a lot of discussion. Several cities adopt these on a routine basis in order to assure that all elected officials and appointed officials, while exercising their office, conduct themselves in a manner that, you know, instills public confidence and trust and integrity for the city. So this policy is something that our city attorney, David Ruderman, who is being zoomed in tonight due to not feeling too well, but he's graciously decided to zoom in and answer any questions if needed. And essentially, as we had discussed before, this policy will enhance, you know, transparency and good governance, and also promotes an atmosphere of respect and civility among elected officials and appointed officials. And if adopted tonight, not only will the council be signing off and getting a copy of the new policy, but any other committees appointed by the council, such as the Planning Commission and other committees, will also have to sign off that they've agreed to that they would uphold our Code of Ethics and Conduct as well. So,
Any questions from council? Darrell? Councilman Tabellero? Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I read it and
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Councilman Hall?
There's nothing,
Councilman
any
Mazzoni.
great changes.
No, I agree with it. Think it should have been in place a long time ago.
Okay.
Agreed, Mark.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
and you have to ask for public comment too.
Oh, excuse me, any public comment on what we're doing right here? We're trying to be civil. That's the amount. Oh, with no public comment, the chair will entertain a motion.
I will move to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Weed, California, adopting a policy for the Code of Ethics and Conduct for elected and appointed officials.
Second that.
It was moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. On to item number C, administration by motion, adopt resolution 33-2022, establishing a City of Weed Measure O Citizens Advisory Committee to review proposed spending plans. For those of you in the audience or online, Measure O is our current 1/4% sales tax. Can I get a report?
Sure. Before you, Mr. Mayor and Council, is a resolution that would establish a citizen advisory committee. During the spring and summer of this last year, there was a lot of discussion about adding an additional 1/4 penny sales tax for similar funding as what Measure O had done. And throughout the discussion, it was decided and discussed among council that regardless if the quarter penny, excuse me, regardless if the quarter penny went before the voters, or regardless if it went before the voters and didn't pass, that there should still be a Citizens Advisory Committee formed in order to oversee the quarter penny sales tax from the 2015 Measure O. And for those that are not familiar, that Measure O essentially established funding for the maintenance improvement of our libraries, the senior nutrition programs, senior programs and services, and for general purposes, including police, fire, and street maintenance and other improvements. So before you tonight is the guidelines establishing the Measure O, and how that would work was each one of you would appoint somebody, nominate somebody to be sit on that committee. And hopefully by our January meeting, you'll have those nominations and those folks will have agreed to sit on the committee. And then when we go through the budget process over the next 3 or 4 months, this committee can sit and decide, based on the revenue that's coming in, the expenses, and requested allocations by those groups, what should be recommended for the council for their budget for the next 2 years, because that's what we do, a 2-year budget here with the city of Weed. So that's essentially establishing this oversight committee.
Okay. After that, any public comment? No public comment. Council will discuss.
Mr. Mayor, Tim, is there any criteria for who we pick?
Sure, it's listed in there. They have to be a citizen here, a Citizens of Weed, and, they have to be, it can be I believe we put it in there, it could be like a business owner, some of those folks, but we want them to, live within the city limits of Weed. And I think they said they'll be appointed for a 4-year term. And so anyway, we're hoping to get your resident of Weed, maybe an employee of a business, located, or a business owner here in Weed. But we want them to be residents of Weed, because the money that is being allocated will be spent here in Weed. So but there's
if a business owner owns a business, we're not really looking for that particular person.
We're looking for the business owner that lives here in
Lives here,
Weed.
okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Any other questions? Bob? Mark? Nobody?
I think this should have been, this will be a good thing for the citizens. As limited as they're gonna be as far as how long they're in their term, it's a good idea to let the folks out there know that they can be a part of something here, have a say-so in it, so maybe that will draw more people in and more people that want to be active. That's just my opinion.
Thank you.
idea.
And
That's a good point.
I believe our city, David, do you have something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can see you.
We can see you.
I just wanted to clarify the qualifications for membership as presented. It says that the committee members shall be appointed to a term of 4 years. They shall be a resident of Weed, an employee of a business located in Weed, or an owner of real property within the city. So if you want to if you want to make sure that only residents of the city of Weed are eligible to serve, we will need to amend that part of the resolution. Because right now, you can work for a city within Weed, or you can own real property, and that would be sufficient.
That's up to the pleasure of the
Yeah,
council.
no, it's fine how it is. I get it.
Yeah, I think most people that are going to be interested in this position will most likely live in the Weed. I'd be surprised if it was otherwise.
But I think what David's saying is this provision would allow, they wouldn't have to be a resident. Is that what you're saying, David?
Yeah,
Okay.
the way I read it, you can work, if you work in the city of Weed, but you live outside the city, you could be eligible. And if you own real property within the city, even though you don't necessarily live in that property, you would be eligible. And of course, the selection is up to each individual council member.
Yeah.
Right, so it's
Okay.
at our discretion who we would want to do it,
Okay.
right?
We'll be lucky to get 5.
That was my major concern with getting 5 people to get appointed to a committee.
Well, if you tell them this, they're only going to meet a couple times a year. This is not something that's going to
And
be.
you'll bring donuts.
And we will bring them a
Just kidding,
big box
just
of
kidding.
donuts.
And waters.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other questions, the chair will entertain a motion on this item as well.
Is there any public comment too?
I already asked for
Oh, you
public.
did,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I figured I'd better start with public comment so we could comment on it.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 33-2022, establishing a City of Weed Measure O Citizens Advisory Committee to review proposed spending plans and monitor the expenditures of the funds raised from the Measure O sales tax measure.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's passed as read. On to item number 9, staff reports. We can start off with eeny, meeny, miny. Who wants to do this? Anna, we haven't seen you in so long. Let's start with you. Nice to see you, by the way.
It's good to be back. Well, as you guys have in front of you, there is the financial reports there, but it's just great to be back in the office. The staff is doing great, and I look forward to doing budget and getting everything rolling here for the upcoming year.
Thank you, Anna. Brian? I
Yeah,
should
good
say
evening.
Chief Carter, right? So that'd be official.
That's fine. Yeah, not much to report. We will be losing 2 resident firefighters at the end of this year. One will be going back to LA City, where he came from, and the other has just completed his medic program through COS and will be returning to the Bay Area. Also wanted to mention that we will be doing the Santa Sleigh community outreach December 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And the areas, the 20th, we'll be doing the Angel Valley area and the schools. The 21st, the downtown Main Street, Lake Street area. And the 22nd, the Bel Air, Siskiyou, and Southweed.
Okay. Is that going to be posted on our website? Not that everybody looks, but just in case.
I need a flyer.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can
Yeah, we
post it on various Facebook
Yeah,
as
we,
well.
we put it on our Facebook
On
page,
your
and I
Facebook
believe
page?
the
Okay.
chamber put it on their Facebook page as well.
Okay, great. Okay, at least we're getting it out there. Chris, Public Works Director, Assistant Public Works Director.
Nothing really to report at this time, just getting ready for the snow that's supposed to hit this weekend. Been
It's
doing a
already
lot of
here.
Vehicle maintenance. No, not yet. Now it's coming tomorrow.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Chief Mayberry.
I don't have a lot. Cleanup continues in the Lincoln Heights burn area. We're approximately 19 homes or parcels still left to clean up. We're hoping to be able to get that road open soon for everybody. I know it's still closed and it's causing a lot of headaches for locals. I understand that, but it's closed for a reason, safety purposes, especially in the winds. We have a lot of debris blowing around. And then in a clarifying statement, please don't call the number on the box at the railroad tracks because that's the equivalent of calling 911. It didn't go to New York. It went to a poor emergency dispatcher in Tennessee. I worked that day. That's the number we call to shut the railroad down. So that's if you're stuck on the tracks and we need to stop the train from hitting you. So just in the future, don't call that number if you just see it, okay?
It probably wouldn't work twice anyway.
If we need a new crossing, we'll use it.
Well, yeah, so the sign was removed that day by me. That was, the alternative was the railroad police wanted me to go and arrest everybody. So, yeah, but yeah, that is a serious number. When you call it, it actually shuts the railroad down and it's very expensive when they do that. So just a heads up.
Thanks.
Thanks. I would also like to actually thank Brian. He did give us a report on the incidents on emergency calls. Informative. We have a lot of medical calls, don't we? Okay. Sandy.
Just want to take this time to congratulate the newly elected council members, also the newly appointed mayor and mayor pro tem.
Thank you.
And then Bob, thank you as always.
Tim?
Yes, kind of following up with what Chief Mayberry had to say, I did talk to Brian with OES today, and I wanted to ensure, because when you drive out there, you still see quite a bit of debris, see some of the folks. I did go out and talk to the folks with Tetra Tech today that's out there doing the cleanup and debris removal, and they were under the impression that 100% of all the right of entries had been signed off on. I did confirm that with Brian. He did say every property owner there has been, has signed off, so they're in the process. The problem right now, as you know, is weather and trying to get that coordinated. I mean, because you have the dump trucks queued up and ready to go, and then when the winds are blowing 1,000,000 miles an hour and the rain and the snow and everything else, it kind of hampers it, so. But their goal is to hopefully get this thing knocked out before the end of the year, which I think they can do, pending, the weather, so.
Are they taking toxic substances now?
Yes. Yeah, they're removing all of that, so, and then they're removing the soil with the.
About 6 inches or so?
Yeah.
Have you been over there?
So, it's.
I've been skirted it, I didn't really go in.
Yeah, it's a mess right now, I mean, with all the different, vehicles and everything else that's
I
in
would
there.
like to thank Public Works for fixing all the leaks.
Yes. We got a lot of calls.
I was gone that week.
The first day that they just showed up and started doing it, they didn't give us any notice, and they busted a couple of our lines, and Chris and his crews did a great job, and then we finally were able to coordinate to get those lines capped off, so if they hit another one, it wouldn't disrupt service for the surrounding folks that had, continued water service there right now. The other thing, that I had a really good meeting today. I can't make an announcement at this point, but I will tell you, myself and building official John Pemberton met with a fairly well-known company that is going to be presenting a proposal and agreement before this council next month for the installation at no charge to the city for charging stations at our 55 South Weed Boulevard, or Weed Boulevard. Is that South Weed Boulevard? It is South Weed Boulevard. Okay, South Weed Boulevard. And we're very excited about what they have to say. Now, we can't go into too much details until next month, but we're very happy with the discussions that have been ongoing. And I think it'll be a really, really good shot in the arm for our downtown merchants and our merchants out on the boulevard as well, because as you know, most people that stop and get their vehicles charged also hop out of the car and go get, some food and so forth. So statistics show that that's what they go do once they do it. Very few of them sit in their car and just wait for the charge. So anyway, we're excited about that. As Anna had mentioned prior, we are going to be starting the budget season really soon. So kind of throw Daryl and Mark right in the middle of all that, and we will be setting a budget calendar for the next couple of weeks. We'll push something to the council, letting you know once we kind of get, because there's a couple of days where we would like to have council like we did 2 years ago, where we set and kind of had budget meetings, and we'll also do some, what I would call some minor touring around town, showing you some of the areas with Public Works, Fire Department, Police Department's not too bad because you can just go right behind the wall here. And, Chief Mayberry and Chief Duncan and Chief Carter can show you some needs, as well as our guys in Public Works, because something like we just talked about tonight with the SCADA system. I mean, you guys all have other things in your lives, and we sometimes forget about, those things, and we just assume, I do sometimes especially, that you just know what a SCADA system is. And, but those are those that have been around it for decades. It's just second nature for us to know these things, but educating the council as to what the budget process is going to look like, and establish and get it done so we can adopt the budget in June and for the next 2 years and move forward. So, but that's all I have at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Tim.
Yes.
And City Hall's closed for?
City Hall will be closed for the holidays from December the 23rd through, and reopen on January 3rd. Yes.
Okay. So pay your water bills early.
Yeah, we don't charge, well, I won't say anything about the late fees, so.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah,
none of that.
So, yeah, I don't want to make any promises here, so.
Okay, staff reports are done. We have a closed session. Are we still going to do that? 2 closed sessions?
2 closed sessions.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to go to closed session.
I move
We
that.
do need to, we need to request public comment on the 2 closed session items if you want to indicate those, or I can.
You want public comment on the 2 closed session?
Correct. So there are 2 closed session items. One is a regular meeting item and the other is a special meeting. The regular meeting relates to property negotiations. Special
Okay.
meeting, I believe, relates to anticipated litigation. Technically, we need to allow public comment on those items at this point,
Okay.
with the caveat, of course, that they may not have a lot of information about them, given that they are closed session items.
So I will open up item A on the closed session for public comment.
Can you say, Kim?
Since there's no public comment, I'll open public comment on item B. Would that be, I don't think I have a description of the
Oh, there kind of is.
second closed session. Do you have it?
Well,
It's on the special meeting
It's on the
agenda.
I think it's in the very back of the agenda. Oh,
Okay, council works.
I believe, David, can they just say closed session with item A and item B? Or item A and then the special meeting?
Yeah, I refer them to the special meeting agenda item that's listed.
We can
which is-
refer to the special meeting agenda item because I don't see it here on
Mayor,
any
it's
paperwork.
conference with legal counsel, initiation of possible litigation, number of potential cases is 1.
Okay, any public comment? Seeing none, we will adjourn to closed session. Actually, we'll entertain a motion to go to closed
I
session.
move we go into closed session.
Hey,
Second?
I second.
There's a second. We're into closed session. Clear the courtroom.
Is David?